Morning, Minnesota. Welcome to the August edition of Coffee Talk on SSIS statewide release version 25.3. We've got an action-packed agenda. I am Ross. I'll be your host today. I am an e-learning instructional designer with the learning and development arm of the SSIS user support group in the business integration division of DCYF. So we'll jump right into the agenda. Today we'll have our welcome. Our introductions will happen as folks start their slides. We'll go over the housekeeping and Tennyson warning. We'll have some announcements. We'll talk about the release, get into the meat of it, about architecture, expanded statewide search, security, person, child safety and permanency, adult maltreatment, SSIS repository, and fiscal. And then we'll end up with talking about your SSIS resources and our closing announcements. As always, attendees have been muted upon entry. To speak, please raise your hand and use the reaction emoji at the bottom of your screen, and you will be unmuted by one of our panelists. Questions can also be submitted using the chat feature, which will be monitored by our SSIS business ops staff. Closed captioning can be enabled using the CC button located on the bottom left of your screen. And this session is being recorded and will be posted on the Minnesota Child Welfare Training Academy website in the near future. With that being said, we'll give you the Tennyson warning to read over to let you know that this is going to be recorded and what your rights are. Go ahead and take a moment or two to read over this slide and we'll get right back at it. Hopefully that was long enough for you to read over this slide and see what your rights are. I'm going to pass it over to Cassie so she can talk about the pilot agencies.
Good morning, everybody. This is Cassie with the SSIS Tier 1 Help Desk. And I just wanted to say from the entire SSIS team and our Minute partners, we would like to express our gratitude to the agencies who stepped up to pilot for this release. Your hard work and communication throughout this entire pilot period has really played a crucial part in making this whole process possible. So to Anoka, Freeborn, and Brown counties, it's really been a pleasure working with you. We thank you so much, and we've really appreciated it, and it's been a real pleasure. And we hope you consider to pilot again in the future. So that being said, if any other agency, if your agency is interested in participating in a pilot in the future, reach out. My email address is on the screen in front of you. So shoot me an email or send an email to the help desk, and I hope to hear from you. Thanks again to Anoka, Freeborn, and Brown County. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, Cassie. Now we'll pass it on to Miss Heidi to talk about our Mentor of the Month.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm excited to share that our August Mentor of the Month is Jody Fernholz from Candy, Ohio County. Jody was nominated by her colleague, Terry Schneider, who shares. Jody has been with our agency for 40 years and has been a mentor for probably that entire time. She's a wealth of knowledge and keeps our case aid unit functioning. She's very deserving and very committed to her job and her duties. So thank you for all your contributions to the mentor program, Jody. We appreciate you. And if you have somebody that you'd like to nominate for Mentor of the Month, I've put my email address in the chat. So shoot me over a few sentences about the person you'd like nominated, and I will get back to you. Anyway, Sam is up next, and she is going to be sharing information on the Time Entry Transformation Project. So, hoping everybody has a good day, and Sam, you're up.
Thank you, Heidi. Hi, everyone. Sam Breidenbach. I'm product manager for the time entry transformation work. I wanted to give an update for some software development work that's not directly related to this statewide release, but adjacent and part of SSIS. We're working towards finalizing our development work for our minimum viable product, or MVP, in this 2-week period we are in, which is currently Sprint 11, to have our new screens in a website complete for login with SSIS for time entry, to change your database if you're a user who has access to multiple, to create a new time record, and to save this to the backend database. And then to log out of your account, that will all be accessed via a website through a URL on a browser using any device that will allow us to provide mobile access to SSIS for the first time. Our user acceptance testing is planned to kick off on August 27th, rolling into pilot with production data immediately after that. User acceptance testing means that real users test out the system to make sure it works well, it meets the everyday needs of a caseworker, and report any issues or feedback to the product team for resolution. And I will drop some links into the chat for anyone who's interested in learning more about the product or to help co-design these screens. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Next up will be Cynthia on our SSIS modernization updates.
Thank you, Ross. Good morning, folks. Nice to be here this morning. I wanted to share with folks, I put in the chat some information that we had out in our, I think it was our August 8th update about our work getting ready to modernize, create a new modern SSIS system. First, just wanted to start off with a little bit of context that you are all familiar with, that we are sharing out broadly to help kind of understand the work that we're doing for modernization. And you'll see here our 3 houses, our simple house from 1999, the house that we're living in right now that has lots of staircases that maybe don't go anywhere, and maybe an ice maker right next to the toilet. No one's sure why, but when the ice maker works, for some reason, spell check stops. And we're really, working through that. We have been lucky enough to get funding, and it is a substantial investment from the Minnesota legislature. And we call that our new house funding. And really what that means is we have an opportunity to build a new modern child welfare system. And that is the work that we are starting to do. And we have 2 opportunities that I had shared in the chat, tomorrow and Friday, to have for mentors and coordinators to have a conversation about a little bit deeper dive into what this modernization work is, and conversation about the scope of what needs to be included in this initial, what I'll just call the initial phase. All right, next one. So for this, I want to share really high level time frame. Right now, we're really focused on getting ready for creating the structure and all of the requirements for building this new house. And it's really not going to be a new house. It's really going to be a neighborhood where we're going to have a big house that's really focused on our child welfare main components of a system. That's how we are funded with our federal partners. And that's what we are directed to start working with. But we're also going to have a pathway to the schools, and maybe a skyway to the courts, maybe one of those, I don't know, electric thing that, one of those walking things that you have at the airport to Department of Ed. So we're going to be building a neighborhood and replacing the functionality, most of the functionality to support the programs that are within SSIS today, most of those programs. So we are right now working on understanding the scope And then we will quickly be moving into other steps in this process, including building out our business processes and all of our requirements. And our hope is our big purple line in March to have our plan together. And what that means is a report to the legislature, but also a large document to our federal partners for review. We have an expedited time frame because we know how important this is to do this quickly, but we also have a strong desire to do it of a high quality, and we know that the best way to do that is to have involvement from workers. So many of you may be tapped. We've asked our partners in MAXA for several, for more than 100 partners actually, for us to help with us on this work this fall. So many of you may be tasked with that. And there will be also a wide call for other opportunities for engaging in really designing what this house is going to look like. So that's our time frame. And once we, where we're at right now is really continuing to support our current system, building up our capacity. So we are in the process of hiring a financial coordinator for modernization. And we also will be having an engagement coordinator position, which will be focused just on the modernization piece of this work. So for that, I'm posting to come out. And we're also working on doing our work differently. So that means how we do manage change work, internally utilizing more modern methodology. It's usually called agile methodology. So we will be working on that. We're also going to be having some support from an external vendor on all of the activities that we're going to need to do. And primarily, like I mentioned, right now we're working on defining what our scope is, working through all of our business processes in Minnesota, including some opportunities for realignment for real statewide practice, and also documenting all of those requirements for building a new house so that we can submit that to our federal partners. That process takes a while, and we will be here and in many other spaces to give updates. But I did want to just give a quick update on kind of what we are doing. And for folks who have not participated last week in our first scope conversation with mentors, please consider doing so tomorrow or Friday. And if you're interested, but neither of the times really work for you, just reach out to me, send me an email, and I'll be happy to talk with you, come up and visit. It's a beautiful time in Minnesota, so I'm happy to get out and about. And if you ever have any questions on anything SSIS modernization, don't hesitate to get in touch with me. Thank you all so very much.
Thanks, Cynthia. All right, well, that ends the update portion, and now we can get into our the meat of the information. So let's get started, and here we go. Start out with Andrea.
Hi, my name is Andrea Bloom, and I'm an SSIS SME for the admin department. For the SSIS editor, there has been an update to align with the recommended practice and system use. Users will no longer have the ability to copy and paste images within the SSIS editor. Copy and pasting images can often be unreliable when reviewed later. This is applicable for the SSIS editor within case notes, intake description of need, child maltreatment report of description of incident, contact and activity records, and the MARC call center description of incident. And I'll turn it over to Cassie.
Thanks, Andrea. All right. The grid on the relationship TPR tab of the state details screen on the client is now read only. So the individual cells, including like the dates in the rows, can no longer be selected. That will prevent like the entry or deletion of data. So like when you select the row, it will now select the entire row instead of selecting like the individual field. So that will be nice. And next slide. And now there's an issue that's been resolved. The option request access, that's used to request statewide case access in order to access work groups in another agency, is consistently enabled. Previously, it would like intermittently become disabled for users under certain circumstances. So that's been resolved. And I see that we have 2 questions in the chat. So we have a question slide anyway. And this is pertaining to the copy and paste of images. First one, it says from Sue Cleveland, does this include emails that may have county logo images in the signature line, several staff copy emails? Yes, it does include county logos. And what will happen to when someone tries to copy and paste an image into an editor? Will there be an error message? There is no error message with that. It just will not work. So if you try to copy and paste and it just doesn't work, it's not a defect. It's working as expected. It just won't paste from the testing that we've had done. Can you give us more detail on copy and pasting images? What will happen when users try to copy and paste an image? So just what I said, when you try to copy and paste an image into SSIS after the release, it's just not going to work. Will it paste non-image information? Yes. It will still paste non-image information. It will still paste just text. So, all right. Any other questions before we move on? I don't see anything else right now. Oh, Myra, is it only with specific images, or will the copy and paste also not work with text not supported in SSIS? I'm not for sure what you are meaning specifically, but it will not support images. So copy and paste will not support images anymore. It will support text. So I think if you have something specific that you're wondering about, you might have to play with that after statewide release. I see one more question just popped in. If SSIS is not working correctly, then we will tell workers to type notes in Word and then paste into SSIS when it is working again. Will this not work either? No, you will be able to copy and paste text. That will work. Because that's just text. That will still work. We're talking like if you are copy and pasting an image, like that questions like image that you see on the screen, you wouldn't be able to copy and paste that into SSIS. All right. I think we're okay now. Andrea, go ahead.
All right. On the user search screen in SSIS admin, there has been columns added to be used with the result grids: last logon date, date since last logon, mobile phone, and email address columns. These do not default into the results grid, and they must be selected. This change is related to an enhancement request that will allow agencies to search for users that need their login removed or inactivated. No, yeah. New field for users. There's a new field for mobile phone now displays. The number can be entered on either the user screen or under the Active Directory credentials dialog. A new field was added for mobile phone in both the staff information and the staff Active Directory information group box. This menu updated from the mobile phone when it is first entered or when it needs to be changed or corrected later. A new action menu option has been added. Active Directory information. This menu updates the first and last name of a user, and it can be used to update the Active Directory when the user's name changes for any reason. That way, the profile in Active Directory will no longer have to be removed and replaced to correct the user's names. Any questions on that? All right. The person search by address now allows special characters to be entered into the address and city search fields. These are the same characters that can be entered on the address screen. And I'm going to turn it over to Allie.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Allie Tesmer, and I'm a subject matter expert with the SSIS Business Operations team. And today I'm going to talk about an issue that's been resolved. This is on the expected parenting youth screen. The required field error message: in the last 6 months, while the youth was in placement, did the youth and any of his or her children live together for 1 day or more, now displays in its entirety and no longer cuts off text. I will pass it over to Erica.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Erica Peterson. I am a child welfare subject matter expert with business operations as well. First, I'm going to talk about the new substance involvement screen. So this has been updated with a new easy-to-use grid where workers can add, edit, or delete substance records. Workers can add records using the action menu, the plus icon at the bottom left corner of the grid, or their keyboard shortcuts. This screen includes type ahead drop downs to easily complete the grid as well. And there's a new quick add feature, which will enable workers to enter multiple substances at once. Updated help text is available to help guide workers through both the main screen and the quick add option. And then on the next slide, we'll look at the quick add option. This will allow workers to add multiple substances at one time. This will function similar to the allegations quick add in the child maltreatment report. So when you're using the substance involvement quick add, if the involvement level or date identified as an issue differs between substances, workers will just need to remember to edit those fields on the substance involvement grid after selecting OK from the quick add screen. And then we'll pause for any questions.
Nothing in the chat at this time.
Okay. Okay, so the new Prevention Services Candidacy Re-Eligibility General Report. So once a child or youth is determined to be eligible for prevention services, Their eligibility must be redetermined every 12 months as long as they didn't lose their eligibility by entering into foster care, or in the case of an expectant or parenting youth, leaving foster care. The Prevention Services Candidacy Re-Eligibility Report is newly added under General Reports, and then you would go to the 4E eligibility and expand that, and then you will find this new report. The goal is to help agencies monitor those eligibility determinations. Currently, this report will show any child with an eligibility status of prevention services eligible with an end date within the selected period of the date range in the setup tab. The report will also show any child with the eligibility status of draft, regardless of the date range selected. The report will display the child's name, primary worker, eligibility start date, the eligibility end date, and the eligibility status. There is currently one minor defect associated with this report. So at this time, when agencies select all in that period drop down of the date range, the report will not show all children with a prevention services candidacy eligibility that has been entered in your agency. So this is, again, a known defect. It's currently being worked on. The report will show, however, those with re-eligibility that is overdue, those with re-eligibility that ends on the date that the report is run, if selecting all, and all children that are in draft status. To see all prevention services candidates with an eligibility, select when your agency started doing prevention services claiming in the From field on the Setup tab, and the to date would be selected as a date 1 year in the future. This is the workaround to ensure if you're wanting to look at all prevention services eligible candidates in your agency, this would be the workaround for that until that defect is resolved. Okay, we're going to switch gears a little bit into the child maltreatment report. The child protection intake summary and the police report child protection summary no longer include an investigation reason when the allegation screening decision changes from screen in to screen out. And then the collateral contact section of the child protection summary report previously only displayed the first 130 characters in the first line of text, but this has been resolved and the section will now correctly display all the text and lines on the collateral context tab of the CMR. Again, in the CMR, the help text under the allegations help text link has been updated so it more closely aligns with the Minnesota Child Maltreatment Intake, Screening, and Response Path Guidelines. The help text for neglect, sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental injury, threatened injury, and severity have all been updated. This new help text also includes the updated help text for that new allegation of labor trafficking that was just introduced in SSIS in July. I got a few updates now on a couple of the QRTP screens. A new field labeled placement preference of parents / legal custodians / Indian custodian has been added to the QRTP assessment screen in preparation for QI documentation enhancements, which will be coming in a future release. There's a current defect on this screen that's currently being worked on. If all fields of this screen are not completed prior to saving, workers will receive an error, which will require the record to be deleted. And then workers will need to create a new QRTP assessment record, complete all fields in full, and then save. So shifting to the QRTP extended placement review, a few changes on this. The data cleanup message that previously read an EPR exists that has not been approved or denied and is past the review to date has been updated. This message will now only appear when the EPR status is draft, clarification needed, or pending approval. And the message will no longer display if the status is withdrawn. Some more notable changes to the EPR screen and how the review period details are calculated. The Calculate Review Period Detail button must be used to populate the age at the beginning of review period, the review type, the review period from, and review period through fields. Workers will no longer be able to edit those fields manually like they have in the past. The data will automatically populate when that Calculate Review Period Detail button is pressed, and it needs to be pressed within 30 days of the EPR due date. So if that button is pressed more than 30 days before the EPR is due, the fields will not populate, so nothing will happen. SSIS staff are working on an informational message for a future version that will notify users when the next EPR is due. Moving into documents and templates, I've got just a few more updates. The notice of child fatality, near fatality template is now inactivated as there were recent legislative changes that required language changes to the document. So existing documents in draft status will remain editable, but cannot be copied. The recommendation is to use the new fillable form that is located in eDocs. Workers should be using the eDocs version moving forward, as this document has the most accurate language. And then in the slide is the eDocs document number. The title page in printed format for service plans, MAPCs, North Star Adoption Assistance, and North Star Kinship Assistance eligibility determinations now display with the header of Minnesota Department of Children, Youth, and Families. So those have all been updated. And last for me, a new state service plan template is now available. It is titled Out of Home Placement Plan and SSIS. I'm sorry, it's labeled Out of Home Placement Plan Setup Only in Agile Apps. AA. This template is to be used when the Out of Home Placement Plan in Agile Apps is released. Workers will only need to complete the setup menu, but there will be policy and training materials that will be provided once the plan is released statewide. Until that guidance is issued, workers should not be using this template. We wanted to discuss it because it's a new template that workers will be seeing in the system, but they should not be using it until guidance is issued. And the hope is that guidance will be out later this fall. I think that is all for my updates, and I'll pop it over to Cassie.
Thanks so much. So we have had some updates to the Midnighted Notice of Privacy Practices. I do want to give a little disclaimer. There was a typo to the title on this slide. I believe it says Minnesota National Youth in Transition Database. Not sure how that happened. It is not supposed to say national in that title, so I apologize for that typo. Anyway, the Midnighted Notice of Privacy Practices has been updated with many corrections. These corrections include the following. There are references to DCYS. The effective date has been updated. Contact information. Who is asking questions section has been updated. Additionally, the Midnighted contacts have been updated in the social networks and alternative social networks, including Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok, Truth Social, and Snapchat. Also, they have changed Twitter to now be named X. And lastly, the Midnighted Survey Baseline 17-year-old general report includes several updates, including a title change, spelling and grammar corrections, and updates to social media as well. And passing on to Allie, and then we will address the questions in the chat. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Cassie. All right, another issue has been resolved. The data cleanup message, work group close, a client in this work group has an open continuous placement message has been corrected. It will now only prevent work group closure when a placement is associated with the work group and will no longer prevent closure of unassociated work groups.
Thanks, Sally. We do have 3 questions in the chat, and they're all related to the prevention services report. First, is this report only available as a PDF, or can it also be exported to Excel? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that either. I can look into it and hopefully get an answer before we're done today.
Perfect, thank you. And also, in that same report, in the data entry field, is there a way to add a client that is not eligible? Last time this user looked, it only looked like you can add for clients that are currently receiving a prevention services program. It's hard to identify if data entry is just missing or if clients are excluded from prevention services in the current SSIS screen for prevention services.
That's a good question, and I'm not entirely sure that I'm following. So I'm wondering, Caitlin, if you would want to send in a ticket with your specific question, and we can look into it a little further.
That sounds like a good idea. Oh, we're getting thumbs up. That's all we have in the chat.
All righty. Well, thanks for all the questions. And now we will have Anna talk to us about adult protection.
Good morning. My name is Anna Chalupka. I am a SSIS trainer with the user support group, and I'm going to talk about the SSIS adult protection updates. So starting with the case closure communication. So the APS case closure communication template will be unavailable in SSIS templates. Existing documents in draft status will remain editable, but cannot be copied. Now, agencies may choose to provide your own case closure letter. Next slide. This slide pertains to the APS Adult Strengths and Needs SDM tool. We do have a new version. The tool has been updated. The assessment is now consolidated into one single tab, and with updated assessment items, terms, and definitions, and an improved strengths and needs table. So this assessment is also available to print, and please refer to the SSIS Adult Protection User Guide, the September edition, for detailed instructions on navigating the tool in SSIS. And the September edition will be available online sometime, will be posted at the end of September. So the next few slides, I will be providing a high-level overview of the updated Strengths and Needs assessment. So in this slide, we do have the assessment type. We have the drop-downs that you can choose either initial assessment or reassessment. Next section is part A, which is about assessment of communication. We have part B, assessment of health. Next slide. Part C is regarding resources. D is assessment of social. And then part E is other, So other workers identified and adult identified strengths and needs that are not addressed in questions 1 through 12. Next slide. So these slides, I'm going to be talking about the drop-down options. So for the questions in parts A, B, C, and questions 10 and 11 in part D, the drop-down options consist of the 3 options, which are potential area of strengths and needs and not a need, moderate need, or severe need. Now for questions 12 in part D and all of the questions in part E, the drop-down options are 4 options, and they are not applicable, potential area of strengths and not a need, moderate need, and severe need. Next slide. So this slide talks about the strengths and needs table. So with the update, the grid labels have changed from, it used to be labeled priority strengths and priority needs to now says strengths and needs. Also, some of the categories were added. So worker identified, adult identified, and considered for service plan categories are now added to the strengths grid. And then for the needs grid, worker priority, adult priority, and priority for service plan categories are added. Please note that with this version of the Strengths and Needs Assessment, version 25.3, SSIS will allow users to save the tool as a complete without selecting a strengths and needs for the service plan. However, in the upcoming release, 25.4, users must select a strengths and needs for the service plan to complete the tool. So in order for that tool status to say complete, for starting 25.4, users must select the strengths and needs. But for this version, the system will allow you to save the tool as a complete. So just a heads up. All right, and then located at the bottom of this screen is the worker comment field. And the worker comments field is optional. Now moving on to another update is the service plan. So the adult protection has a new state service plan. So a new service plan is now available in the adult protection work group, and it is located in the service plans folder within the tree view. Please note that AP workers should complete the adult strengths and needs assessment before developing the service plan. Refer to the adult protection policy documentation for details on when to use the service plan, and then refer to the SSIS Adult Protection User Guide, September edition, for instructions on how to navigate the service plan in SSIS. So I have a few slides. In the next few slides, I will talk about a high-level overview of the AP service plan. So with this screenshot, you will find the APS service plan in the Setup tab under Document Template, and then select APS service plan. And this is what the service plan looks like in SSIS. A help button is available on each tab. And in the service, in the setup tab within the service plan, these fields that are highlighted in yellow are required to be completed. So they are the date, the adult legal surrogate provide a copy, supports person provided a copy, display the language block, participant, and staff. Slide. So the next tab is the document tab, and the document tab has actually 3 sections. I'm going to talk about the first section. So the first section is title page, and it includes a comment field labeled "Why is Adult Protection Services involved?" And this field is a free text field. The next section is the strengths and needs, and it contains the following fields: my strengths, what's important to me, need area, description, support and services, start date, and who will help. So please note that the needs section from the adult strengths and needs assessment must be entered by the AP worker in the service plan. So there is not a capability to cut and paste the adult strengths and needs assessment to the service plan document. The third section is labeled additional comments, and the fields within the additional comments are my comments on the plan and workers' comments. Towards the bottom of the screen, the SSIS, so the system will autofill the agency name, adult protection worker name, phone number, and email address. And there is also a section for adult signature field, which is optional. And then at the very bottom of this page, there is a complete checkbox. So with this checkbox, so AP workers who wishes to print the service plan, you must select this complete checkbox. As a best technical practice, it is recommended to check the complete checkbox in case the plan needs to be printed in the for the future. It is not necessary to uncheck the complete checkbox if additional information needs to be added to the plan. And this last slide that I have is just a tip. With the adult strengths and needs assessment and the new state service plan, since we need to, since those two does not communicate with each other. So the tip is that you might want to split the screen. So you can split the screen in SSIS, so you will be able to see both the tools in SSIS. So on the left side here on my example, we have the one screen, and then I split it up on the right hand side for the other screen so you can see both screens. Okay, and I think that's it for me. Any questions? Thank you so much.
All right, so we will move on to talking about some repository updates. In 25.3, there's an update to SSIS repository error number 4048, and it will now display when the following criteria are met. A child has either an open continuous placement or continuous placement that closed in the last 370 days, and a professionally determined condition record exists, and at least one of the following is true on professionally determined conditions form. Exam or assessment conducted, but the results have not been received. Last updated screen is blank, more than 12 months before the current date, an open continuous placement, or more than 12 months before the current date, the closed continuous placement, and a qualifying placement exists within the continuous placement. And if you're looking for how to resolve this error on your repository, we're asking that you take a look at children who are in or were in a continuous placement within the last year. They require an entry of this or update of this screen. The screen, including the last updated date, should be updated every 12 months or whenever there's a significant change while the child is in an open continuous placement, or if an exam or assessment conducted but results not received is selected. This indication should be used temporarily. The screen must be updated once the exam or assessment results are received. This error will remain until the screen has been properly updated. All right, and then Repository error number 4120 was introduced in the SSIS 24.4 release, but was not displaying correctly. And that has now been corrected and is displaying as intended. So this error should now correctly display when the following apply. The child has an open continuous placement or a continuous placement that closed within the last 370 days. And there's a valid placement within the dates of the continuous placement, and at least one of the following conditions apply. No professionally determined conditions records exist, or the professional assessment status is blank, or professional assessment status is client has a diagnosed condition and no current or previous conditions are selected on the screen. And we're just asking that folks take a look at these two specific errors because professionally determined conditions were at the top of our list on our last AFCAR submission as being closest to non-compliant. So we're hoping that agencies can prioritize correcting these issues as we approach the end of our 25B reporting period in September. Any questions?
I do see one in the chat. What happens if you never receive the results? How do you eliminate that error? And I'm not sure which specific error they're talking about.
My guess is that you're talking about the error 4120, Jesse, is that right?
I don't see responding. I wonder if I can. The one that is the waiting for results option that is temporary.
Okay. Jesse, I will look into that and put an answer in the chat for you, okay?
Okay. And we do have another question about the mobile phone listed for staff. What is the advantage of having the mobile phone listed for staff? Is that for the documents? And if that is the reason, do we need to go and redo all the county documents to add this to them? So we're talking about the advantage of adding the mobile phone to the user profile and admin. Does anybody on here have the advantage for why that was added?
That was added for a additional contact.
Okay. I thought so, but I didn't want to speak out of or be incorrect on that. Thanks, Andrea.
Yep.
All right, that's all the questions in the chat right now.
Hi, my name is Carrie Kaiser. I am an SSIS fiscal subject matter expert and trainer. And on the Seeger State Report, state revenue line S02 has been unlocked and is titled as Other. Agencies can now edit the amount and description on the revenue that is being reported on this line. And I will pass it over to Holly.
Good morning. this is Holly Riller. I'm a fiscal subject matter expert for SSIS BizOps. 2 new tabs have been added to the Prevention Services State Report, along with the addition of claim flipping capabilities. The new tabs are claimed payment proofing and claimed time proofing. These tabs function similarly to the claimed payment proofing tab in the Child Foster Care Report, and that they examine successful claims from the previous 4 quarters and display those that will be flipping for some reason, unless further changes are made. The report works the same as the CFCR, with the recommended process being that after you create a new Prevention Services State Report, you press the Save button first instead of Generate, then review the new claimed proofing tabs. This will make it easier to research the results you are getting on these tabs and find the potential issue. After Generate is pushed, it can be harder to research these claims and the reasons why they might be flipping. The Prevention Services State Report job aid on our fiscal documentation page has been updated with the information for these 2 new tabs. When enabling the payment screen for payments claimed by the Prevention Services State Report, certain fields are now editable. This change follows the same logic used for the Child Foster Care Report. However, not all fields may be applicable to Prevention Services claimed payments. The editable fields include workgroup, license number, 4E subcode, county defined date, 4E reimbursable, invoice number, 1099, arrangement group, contract number, and county defined field. Warning messages now appear on the payment screen when a payment has already been claimed in the Prevention Services State Report. Examples of the messages you might see or are shown on the slide. We had some Prevention Services State Report defects that have been resolved. Time proofing no longer shows duplicate or incorrect messages when multiple persons are selected during time entry. The method column in the time proofing now displays data correctly. Payment proofing message 1424 no longer appears incorrectly when the client has overlapping in-home case plans with different parents as teachers selections. And the Oracle error ORA 02292 has been replaced with a clear message. That message is payment cannot be deleted because it has been claimed for reimbursement on the Prevention Services statewide report. The Prevention Services State Report will no longer proof for payment or time records that are using County Subservice 405 Prevention Services State Allocation. Payment and time records coded to 405 Prevention Services Allocation are not Title 4E eligible. So it was causing some confusion for workers when they pulled into this report. Agencies should continue to monitor their Prevention Services State Allocation claims through their SEGR report. The recent defect that incorrectly required the Create Prevention Services Report function to be assigned to staff trying to update the CFCR has been resolved. The Child Foster Care Report will once again correctly use the Create Child Foster Care Report function. All agencies can and should make any adjustments needed to staff roles that were changed due to this defect.
Okay, looking for questions.
I'm not seeing any. There was a follow-up that was answered in the chat, but I think we're good.
All right. Well, that looks like it ends the release information update. So next we will talk about your resources. You can always access the SSIS resource page to get to the information that you need, the resources that you need. And you can also use the link, engage with us at the top to get to the Engagement HQ website. And then finally, you have some newsletter publications that are available to you with the Minnesota Department of Children, Youth, and Families, and the SSIS update newsletter and the archive there. So many program areas will distribute updates, newsletters, or opportunities for learning user.gov.delivery. The first link on the page will allow you to manage your subscription for the newsletter from DCYF. But do you want to know what the most important publication there is? Well, of course, it's the SSIS update. Also located on the page is a link to our SSIS update archive button. As you can see, there's a link to subscribe to the update, and the SSIS update is chock full of useful information. And we explore SSIS mentor coordinators to review this. We implore SSIS mentors and coordinators to review this bi-weekly publication and disseminate the information to the ethical program areas at your agencies. There's also the Coffee Talk archive. The Minnesota Child Welfare Training Academy hosts our SSIS Mentor Coffee Talk archive for mentors to peruse as time permits. New to the SSIS Mentor Coffee Talk archive are the agenda with the time-stamped documents. These documents contain quick links to topics within each presentation. Not all Coffee Talks have yet received the resource available, but we are working to ensure that they will soon. Makes it easier for you to find the topic you're looking for. And then the last thing we want to talk about is, as always, save the date for the next Coffee Talk in September. That Coffee Talk will be on the Minnesota Youth and Transition Database, and it'll be Tuesday, September 23rd, always at 9 a.m. or 9:03. And you can refer to the SSIS update or use the link in the chat to register. With all that being said, we want to thank you for spending your morning with us. As always, stay golden, Minnesota. Radio Ross out.